brought to you fresh from Schnell's living room.
Everything's pretty much from my living room at this point.
It's true.
Homebrew talks. Homebrew discuss.
Fireside chat.
Yeah. Electric fireside.
There you go.
Electric fireplace chat. I like.
I like that too. I like that too.
Well, because again, I'll get into it when we decide. And I can probably edit a lot of this together.
And Mazzy's that paladin, right? That is
the halfling,
or yeah. I remember what her. Yeah. Baldur's Gate, right?
Yes, she is Mazzy, True Sword Paladin. She is Naya and 1. 3/4 halfling knight. Whenever, the most powerful word in magic, whenever an enchanted creature attacks one of your opponents, it gets +2/+0 and gains trample until the end of the turn. Whenever an aura you control is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, exile it. Until the end of your next turn, you may cast that card. Right. So, the whole idea is, and at least the whole idea that I interpreted the first time around, was whenever an enchanted creature attacks one of my opponents. Well, obviously I want everyone to attack each other. Right. So, the way to do that is to goad things. Unfortunately, there's 6 cards in Naya that actually can goad. But I thought that shortcoming was the reason for the secondary ability. Whenever an aura you control is put in your graveyard, bring it back. Yep. I played this. Goad is a solid second place deck. It does not finish the game very well. The issue that I've always run into, and I played this one a couple of times on and off camera, is I goad, and then one person maybe gets caught or taken out. The issue is spreading the damage so you don't draw too much hate because you're not building a better board state yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
So you're pissing off everyone a little bit in hopes that somebody finishes somebody else first, and that never works. My new build, and I haven't gotten it to the point where we can play it yet, is Mazzy is just going to herself and her friends every single Voltron build with enchantments
totem armor, all kinds of stuff,
and just beat the piss out of somebody with commander damage.
Because you can get the cool green totem armors.
There's a lot of
Umbra, Bear Umbra, all that fun shit.
Green and white have the best auras in the goddamn game, and then red is just there for Chaos Warp to deal with Teej.
Well, and there's the one white enchantment that I have in my Danafa Voltron deck, and probably other ones. I can't think of what it is right now, but basically, when the creature that it's enchanting dies, you return that enchantment back to your hand.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's the idea of redundancy. You can back multiple instances of the same effect, so you don't have to tutor out. Oh, excuse me, because especially without access to black, without access to blue, I'm not looking for much. I do have access to white with Mazzy, which means I will be able to the 2 tutors that are out there, and then maybe $8,000 for the Academy Rector.
Right.
Should have sold my foil to Chris.
Did that a long time ago, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I think it's only gone up since then.
Yeah, probably.
So, but yeah, that's just the idea behind, or the whole idea, the crux of this is interpreting or perhaps misinterpreting the idea behind a commander and its abilities and how they are supposed to be built. So again, goad is bad. I know you can win with goad, but you can't win with Mazzy goad because you're so limited. The commander that goads, that gives away permanents, I think he's blue-black something. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
I've seen that build.
Because all I'm thinking about right now, commander that gives away permanents is Blim.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about.
I love Blim.
Blim's great.
Type, legendary creature.
It's not registering. Is it a newer card? It's got to be, right? I mean,
last 2 years.
Because gold is like
John Irenish.
Irenicus. Yeah. The dude from Baldur's Gate. Yeah. Because then Irenicus's Vile Duplication is a kick-ass clone spell.
Yes, but yes, I've played against the Irenicus Shattered One deck, and it's really, really good. Because you can't sacrifice anything that's goated, it gets bigger. So the guy just kept giving away unblockable creatures and forcing everyone to kill each other.
That's why I wanted to build Slicer.
Yeah.
When I looked at the Transformers, because you give Slicer away, he's goaded and he can't be sacrificed.
Yeah.
Like, so throw all the swords, all the crap on him. It's a similar idea. I like that a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, having that little caveat on there.
John is good because the keyword that he relies on is on the card himself, and he keeps giving the keyword.
Sure.
And you can't interact with it because here. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent gains control of up to one target creature you control. So if you don't have anything, you don't have to give him away. You put 2+1/+1 counters on it and tap it. So it's not going to do anything until their turn anyway. It's goaded for the rest of the game and gains this creature can't be sacrificed. Whenever a creature you own but don't control attacks, you draw a card.
Well, and there's so many cool creatures in blue and black that you can give away too.
Yeah,
You know,
like I said, all the unblockable stuff, all
Yep.
the death touch stuff.
Yep.
It is a deck that builds itself, which I'm surprised I haven't built this one yet because it's one of those where
It's on my
very,
radar
very
now.
clear. Yes. But that is the idea of misbuilds and misinterpreting. This is very clear cut. You're giving stuff away, it's swinging at your opponents, you're benefiting off of that.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry. You can build up defenses and then just give away what offensive things you need. With Mazzy, because you're relying on those auras, you are not generally, at least the way I interpreted it, if you're trying to goad, you are just giving all your permanents away, having no board state yourself. This does not require additional cards to be good. It just requires something.
Yep.
So,
well, and that's kind of like my Tal'Arin deck. When I first built it, it was, I'm gonna do what nobody's done before, and it's gonna be Tal'Arin's gonna counter everything, right?
counterspell
So,
Tal'Arin.
yeah, right. Novel idea.
You heard it here first.
Right? I've got a trademark. Don't even try it. So I built that, and after playing it a few times, I found myself constantly like, I need a way to fill my hand. I didn't have enough cantrips in there, you know. And for a deck like that where it doesn't care, it doesn't say when you cast a counter spell you create a Drake, right?
Yes.
It's whenever you cast an instant or a sorcery. And there's so many good, especially low mana, cost cantrips, brainstorm, things like that. And that also lets me then manipulate the top of my deck, where the deck itself, it sounds, like, why didn't you think of this before? But when you're building the deck and you're like, okay, I want this to be massive control. I don't want anybody to have fun. I'm going to poop out a bunch of Drakes and then swing in and kill everybody. I didn't really think about it until I had played it, and then it was like, wow, I made a mistake here. I need a way to refill my hand.
Well, and that's the thing with the top. I like the top-down deck building where you start with the commander and then expand on. Yep. I know a couple of people, like Teej is one of those where he will build a deck and then he will find a commander that just sort of slots in.
Sure. I
always start with, this is a neat legendary, or this is a really bad legendary. I'm going to build around it. I'm going to figure out its wheelhouse and just throw things into it. The issue with that is the blinders. You don't start looking outside of that because that's what you started with.
Yeah.
You give yourself tunnel vision at the beginning.
Yep.
But yes, blue, at least with Tal'Arin, should be real easy to fix.
Because, it was. Yeah. I mean, it's get rid of stuff that counters specifically instants and sorceries, right? Because it's so... there's still some of those in there, but those are easy counter spells to cut because they obviously target very specific spells. They don't counter, anything. So cutting some of those and then throwing in card draw and cantrips, was... Or even... I don't think I have it in there right now, but there's been times where I've been looking at that deck and how it's performed, and I've been like, I should put a sleep in there just because, if I am... Teej always plays dragons, right? So Teej always has flyers. And if I need to get through... Sleep will tap it down and I can take him out, So little things
sleep
like
effects, not specifically
Sorry.
sleep.
Right, sleep effects.
Yes.
Anything that taps down somebody's entire board or all of my opponent's cards.
Or Cyclonic Rift.
Right, or Cyclonic Rift.
The staple blue card.
Right.
I can't think of a single deck that runs blue where you wouldn't just want to take a turn to shove everyone's cards back in their hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
It's a reason why it's an expensive thing.
Right, no matter how many times it's been reprinted.
That and lack... how many times?
4 now, maybe?
I just blanked on the card I was going to look up.
Cyclonic Rift.
Cyclonic. I'm like, Supreme... No.
No. Supreme Verdict is different. Also a cool card, though.
Are there other Cyclonic cards? Nope.
Nope.
It has, for actual standard prints, Ravnica. And then
Return to Ravnica, and then
Modern Masters, Commander 14,
and then Double Masters. Double Masters
two different versions. Yeah.
No. Double Masters, the two different versions.
Yes.
So 4 times it's been printed.
Yeah, which is why it's still 30 to 40 on the low end, and then 70 for the fancy Cyclonic Rift.
Right.
Needs more prints, or needs more functional reprints, so that people try to find additional cards and buy more from
Wizards. That feels like something. Well, and I want to say maybe Wizards has said they're not going to do Entwine again, but that feels like something that could be on an Entwine card, right? Where it's you pick one or the other, and then you pay an extra 2 or 3 or whatever, and then you can
I don't know.
It for both.
That's weird that they said they wouldn't do that, because Entwine, like all other abilities, it's a kicker.
Everything's kicker. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Just going, we're never going to do this specific kicker again.
Well, and then you look at the one that's in my head right now, because the deck, one of the decks I just went through that I want to play again soon with the group is my Faldorn deck, and I was going through the deck itself just to remind myself what's in there, make sure I had all the cards actually in there, not that I pulled something and put it somewhere else.
That's the red-green guy?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's my Foretelling and Madness deck. And I have Tooth and Nail in there. So that's why Entwine is on the brain, because for 7 mana, sure, I'll pay 2 more to search my library for 2 cards and put them both on the battlefield. So I don't know, that effect feels very, one-sided massive board wipe feels very Entwiney if we're talking potential like functional reprint kind of things there. And I guess speaking of that, like that makes me think of like lines of play and kind of being able to, one thing that's helpful with us recording our games and putting them on the internet is that we can go back and watch, and
I go through like game footage.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a professional athlete.
Right, like a coach, right? And breaking down X's and O's, and one of the things that
always check if your opponent has Glacial Chasm on the field before you do your math.
Right. And then God, what was Teej forgot? I was watching a game that we had played where Teej blew something up on my board, but he forgot I had something else. Oh, it might have been
you had the Phyrexian Altar, I think.
It was the Altar of Dementia, and he wanted to blow up my Vicious Shadows, so I sacrificed all my snakes and I just killed him.
Yeah.
And then so and then after that, I think
and then he got all. Look, I asked, and nobody said that you had a sack outlet.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he did. I don't remember hearing him, even in the replay. Like, I don't remember him going, "Do you have a sack outlet? Do you have anything?"
I don't remember that either. And then at the end, he does come back and say, whatever. But anyway,
and that gets into how much are you responsible for, and how much is your opponent responsible for keeping track of board state? Because I took it on the chin when it was, I'm going to swing out and do 0 damage because of Glacial
Chasm, right.
At that point, I'm not going to go, oh, you have Glacial Chasm, I'm going to take this all back.
Right.
Yeah, once you're locked in,
you're locked in.
Yeah. And nothing against Teej. I've had people who were like, I'm going to swing in. That guy's got Death Touch. No, I'm not going to swing in then. I'm going to untap all this, blah, 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 like take steps back. You have 3 Mississippi before you're locked in.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, we play pretty casual, and there are times in our games where it's like, okay, I forgot this draw trigger, right? Like 2 turns ago.
Yes.
Just draw your card, whatever. Like that shit's gonna happen.
Yes.
But specifically for me, one thing beyond like board presence and remembering what is where on the board, which is, I can't tell if it's easier now that we're out of spell table part of the pandemic, or if it's more difficult now. I'm not quite sure where I'm at on that. However, one thing I'm trying to be better about personally that I feel like is making me slowly become a better Magic player is proper sequencing, and a lot of that comes with slowing down. I know that I can get tilted, or I react very quickly because I forget what game it was too. Somebody whistled that out. Somebody played something, and I remember just being, we have to kill it, and then I said to the board right away, I can deal with it, right? And because I had a Path to Exile or a Swords or whatever, and I immediately played my hand to the entire table. Everybody else later on is like, well, yeah, we had removal too, and it's like, well, shit, if I would have said something, I could have kept mine, right? So,
Well, were you first in priority order to respond, or
No,
did you just
no,
okay?
no, no. I just said I was last.
Yeah.
And I just fucking threw it out there.
Yes.
Yeah, whoever was to my left played something, and it came all the way back around the table, and I popped it as soon as I could untap. Stupid. Don't ever do that.
Yeah.
Let it go around once or twice if you can.
Never spend resources when you think your opponents could.
Right. Exactly. That's that point there.
And when you can pop it in response.
Right. Yep.
Save those resources.
Right. Exactly. And
misplay.
Yeah. Right. And the other part of that too is just like I said, kind of taking a step back, slowing down a little bit, and looking at your board and thinking about what you're going to do. Like obviously you can do that during everybody else's turn to a degree. You obviously still have to pay attention. Maybe your thought process or line of play is going to change based on what your opponents are playing. But there's simple things like I remember when I played my Faraday deck a couple weeks back, and I had played it, and I had a bounce land in my hand. Which, by the way, I'm going to plug for bounce lands here because I know people say they suck because everybody wants to think fetch lands are great and this, that, and the other thing. First of all, fetch lands, they're helpful, but they also extend the game. I don't know if you've ever played a game with Teej before, but that guy will just shuffle and shuffle and shuffle and shuffle until his next turn.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute, come on, you're still shuffling. No, I'm just picking on him.
That's why we didn't invite Teach. So we just rag on him and his play style. And that comes down to just competitive mentality. And we were talking about this the other day when we were together. We have the perfect group of 4 players.
Yeah.
Because there's good decks, bad decks, and good players and bad players. And Teej is the one who said, I am in the good player, bad deck category. Chris is the good deck, bad player. Teej, good deck, good player.
Yeah.
And then Nelson by default
Just
is bad deck, bad player.
Yeah, just bad.
We have the full spectrum.
We do.
But the people with the good decks tend to take longer because they want to be more competitive. They want to do everything correctly. Whereas I will do a lot of elaborate math and then swing into a glacial chasm, which I'm just going to keep making fun of myself for that. But on the flip side of that, I have won a game with Vati Ildal.
You have.
I won with Starscream most recently, which is also just a weird throw-together deck using Monarch and incremental damage here and there. I've won with a lot of really stupid things that I shouldn't have. But again, the bad deck, good player, but I do it because it's entertaining.
Right.
I'm not set out to be the most competitive player at the table. I am there to make myself and maybe others entertained, and goddamn it, I can do that and occasionally get the W.
Well, and that's another thing too, like talking about lines of play and sequencing and learning and being able to watch this, and with the group of people that we play with every week, I feel like it has made me a better Magic player than I was at this time. I don't know, 2 years ago, 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Whatever. Like
better opponents make you a better player.
Right. It just lifts you up, and it's helpful that there are people in the group. You Schnell, or you are Schnell. Schnell. Teej, Chris. You guys will point things out after the fact, or even sometimes during the game. I'm trying to think what it was where Teej was waiting. What did I miss the whole time? Oh, I had infinite mana in that Kozilek game.
You had a Basalt Monolith.
I wasn't paying attention.
The ability to untap it for 2 mana.
Because I had the Memorial of Folly out, or not Memorial of Folly. That's the land.
No, the Forsaken Monument.
Thank you, Forsaken
Monument.
So
it tapped for an extra mana.
Yeah, and I could have
you can untap it for 3, tap it for 4. Yeah, you had infinite mana about 30 minutes into the game.
Yeah,
didn't realize
and never realized it.
Yeah.
But things like that are very helpful.
Yeah.
Now I pulled that deck apart and turned it into Joda, so I gotta go back and just so I can try that again. But what I'm saying is it helps you be a better player and it makes the game more fun. So I want to go back just to one thought I had before too, because I do want to say, like, and I might be one of the few who say this, but bounce lands I think are worth it, and I'm trying to play them more. They're very cheap. They're very easily accessible. They tap for 2, and if you're thinking, you're going to set yourself back for a turn, but if you've got a land out there already, tap it before you play the bounce land and put the mana in your mana pool. I understand that if you're playing CDH, they might not be what you're looking for there because you are literally optimizing every single thing. But I think that in more casual gameplay groups, they get a way worse rap than they should because they're not bad. Anything that lets you pick what color mana you're going to tap for in your colors, I think is helpful. And when that taps for 2 automatically, you don't even have to choose, right? Bounce lands in particular tap for one of each color, that they are. So Rakdos Carnarium, right, taps for red and a black. I don't know why you wouldn't want 2 mana off of 1 land, even if it does make you bounce a land to your hand. So that, and I'm going to give something away here. One thing that I really like, I'm working on a Jury Master of the Review deck, and I realized I finally have the perfect deck to put a Lotus Field in, because it makes you sacrifice 2 lands. And Jury, which is cool, unlike a lot of other Rakdos cards, is it's not like the Aristocraty sack a creature. Jury cares about whenever you sacrifice a permanent. So if you play the Lotus Field, you sack 2 lands, that's 2 counters onto Jury. She's now a 3/3, and then if somebody blows her up, that's 3 damage you're throwing at whatever target you want. So
I killed you with a Jury once.
You did, and it was awesome. And I was looking after
my Zayatora deck.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
After you had played Blim the last time, I was like, man, I haven't built a Rakdos deck like ever, I don't think. And then I was like, I remember really liking Jury. I know I have an etched foil from the original Commander Legends release, so I'm going to build a Jury deck. So I'm working on that right now, and that's one of the things I thought about is, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, suddenly these basic sack lands, the Mirage fetch lands that are slower, right? Like, I know I was just knocking fetch lands, but in a deck like that where it serves a purpose, it's
you're
beneficial, it's helpful,
you're
right?
benefiting off of the base mechanic of the card.
Right. You want something to go to the graveyard.
Yes.
So anyway, just thought that was my little soapbox, I guess, in regards to lands, as I've been trying to think about stuff too.
Bounce lands. So do you keep track of staples then, or do you just try to find what works for you? Like, do you seek them out? Do you keep records? Do you want to try documenting things, or is it just ignore it, check the community every once in a while, see what the internet says? Because
I don't seek them out.
Like,
I guess some of my staples, for me personally, staples are more pet cards, I guess.
Okay.
Because, I mean, if you guys have, are longtime listeners of the podcast or viewers of our show, I run weird shit like Elixir of Immortality in as many decks as I can, right? That's not a staple to anybody, but it kind of is to me. Another card I really like.
Rest in peace, Mr. Hurley, who ran that card in everything as well.
Throne of the God Pharaoh. Like, I know that's a really good card, especially in go-wide decks.
Yeah.
But I like to run Throne of the God Pharaoh where I can. Thrall Retainer. I don't think there's anybody jamming Thrall Retainer in every black deck that they have, but I sure as hell try to. Now, I also build a lot of my black... inadvertently, I think I get drawn to similar strategies. So, like my Griswold deck or my Skullbriar deck, right? Like Skullbriar specifically being Voltron, but Griswold, I want my commander to live. So I'm going to put I'm going to put auras on my creatures that let me regenerate them, so that they live. So, I guess my staples are things that I like to do, or things that... So what I might look for online is, I want this effect, right? Because this is what I want to be able to do. And I know I can get it in this card or this card, but there's got to be more. So that's what I'll do. But other than that, I'm not really doing a ton of the
You're not reaching out to the hive mind for...
Right, I'm not saying... I've never done that.
Hey guys, can I build the exact same decks as you?
Right. No, that's not to say I don't use EDHREC for some... Like, if I'm like, man... I want to find like utility artifacts, or is there anything I'm missing? Yeah, I'll certainly reference that, but I'm not seeking that out first, because, like you said, the way I build decks is I find a commander that's interesting to me and I want to build around, and then I'm searching for those effects, right? I'm not necessarily looking at like, what are the staples? Now, do I know with my mana base, like if it's got black and red in it, that I want a Blood Crypt? Well, yeah, no shit, I want a Blood Crypt, right? Like, that's going to happen, because you want to have an optimized mana base as much as possible. But I'm also not putting, Wooded Foothills into every single red and green deck I run. You know what I mean? Like, it's a great card, right? It's going to help you find what you need if you draw it. It also thins out your deck. That's fine. But I'm not going to.
This guy loves fetch lands,
right? I'm not going to put fetch lands in every deck, though. You know what I mean?
And stuff like fetch lands, definitely. I ask myself, how competitive or how fast do I need the deck to be?
Right.
When I'm doing that.
Right.
Most of my decks are not going to be super competitive. That being said, I will throw some very, very expensive things in stupid decks.
Oh yeah,
because I have them, and I've been slowly transitioning from the mentality of a Magic collector to a Magic player, and I don't care as much about the card value of something I already have, because I have it. It costs me 0 from here on out. I have it. I'm going to play it.
You got to put that candelabra in.
Sold that to Chris too.
Oh, you did? Never mind.
All my most expensive cards, Chris bought, I think, at this point.
Well, that's good. That's good. He's funding your retirement.
Yeah. I do have 6 duels that are just sitting in a binder somewhere.
Burning a hole in your pocket.
Yeah.
I bought my first duel from you. The only duel I ever bought, I bought from you.
I would never consider a duel to be an EDH staple.
Me neither.
See EDH, but I'm not going to get into that.
Right.
Those people play to win. That is not playing for fun.
Nope.
EDH is a fun time with friends.
Agreed. Yep. Agreed. What about you? I mean, how do you approach, or what's your philosophy or theory on staples? Personally,
I don't seek out anything staple wise. I know off the top of my head the 3 cards that I named are always going to go in every deck that I remember to grab them.
Sure.
But there are times when, sadly, not every deck I have runs a Soul Ring because I didn't have one on hand when I was building, or I just didn't think about it because I don't start at that end. Those are, I always pull cards until I have about 60, and then I start with 40 slots for mana and ramp, and then as I get, I fill those up with lands, and then as I come up with more ramp in my color, I start taking those out for, drop the first mountain for a Soul Ring, drop the second one for the Signet of my color, an Arcane Signet, and, going that way. But those are generally afterthoughts, and it's how much time do I have to build the deck, because I like to build stuff new almost every week at this point, because I have a lot of cards that I need to play with. And I'm not worried about building the most finely tuned version of my deck. I am worried about, am I going to build something new? Am I going to build something fun? Is it going to be fun to play? Is it going to be fun for others to either watch or lose to?
That makes me laugh because you talk about how many cards you have, and you have, so much more than I do. But I just laugh every time my wife is looks in the basement and sees my collection spread everywhere, or in my office right now at home where I've just got cards all over because I'm constantly brewing decks. And do you even play with all of those? Well, no, not right now. But I don't. You never know when I might need it.
Shut up! I'm trying.
Yeah, right. I'm on my way. It's funny.
But yes, the only other thing I had was on the topic of misbuilt and misplays. As I was telling you earlier, my Lindy Curses deck. I played that once on camera that I remember, and it went horribly. I was not drawing enough cards. I was not getting enough curses. I was not doing enough to be in the game or be even interesting. I played it off camera, and I completely changed my mentality because, again, like I said with Mazzy, reading the commander and thinking one specific interpretation of its abilities. With Lindy, the curse commander, the first ability brings curses back from your graveyard and attaches them to you. And my thought process was, okay, people destroy them or people are removed from the game. It throws them in the graveyard, puts them back on you. Her secondary ability is curses attached to you. You can then put on other people, and when you do, you draw 2 cards. So the next game that I played with Lindy, every single curse that I played, I immediately cursed myself first, and on my next turn, I was drawing 2 extra cards on top of my base draws or additional draws that I had from other effects. I was having to discard down to hand size by the end of that game, and I didn't win because somebody did combo out, and that deck is still not dialed in enough to deal with that sort of interaction. However, it was a much more enjoyable experience because I was getting my ramp, I was getting my curses, I was being more interactive as far as putting stuff out there and forcing effects. And just that little change of mentality, like with Mazzy that I'm going to be doing, changing the way I played the deck and reinterpreting the ability that I was using made it a much more enjoyable experience.
I like that. I think the next one, like existing decks that I might go back and look at how I'm playing, is Darian. I still want to make him. It's hard. He's the difficulty I have with that.
That's the
deck,
mono white guy that
yeah. Whenever you do damage, he creates that many soldiers.
Okay.
The difficulty I have with him is that everybody wants to remove him, obviously.
Yeah.
Because my decks, my Darian decks, the 2 iterations that I've built, I'm doing a lot of damage to myself and then gaining life back.
Yeah.
In order to build soldiers. So what's happening is, as soon as he hits the board, he's getting wiped out, and he's a 5 CMC commander, I think, to begin with.
He shows up late. Yeah, that's
So he first of all, he shows up late, but then if he's killed 1 or 2 times, that's really hard to get back, especially in mono white. Because suddenly he's 7 and then he's 9, and now I'm throwing all my resources every turn into just getting my commander out. So I haven't figured out how to really unlock him to be a little bit more efficient, but I think there's a way, and that's another one that I think I need to retool a little bit, because I for whatever reason I just really love him as a commander, and some of the things that I've been able to do with that deck, and maybe it's just because it's some of the cards it lets me play. Like, I don't think I play Barbed Wire in anything else, right? But I play Barbed Wire in it. Ankh of Mishra is like my favorite card in that deck, because
I just put Ankh of Mishra in something and went, this is fun.
This is real good, right? Like, it's just some funny little shit that I probably wouldn't play anywhere else. I'm working on a deck that has to do with Forest Walk. I'm not going to give anything else away than that. But I have finally found a deck that will allow me to play Mystic Compass, because I can change... Mystic Compass is an artifact that for 2 and tapping it, you can change one of your opponent's lands to a land type of any...
Is that out of Ice Age?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be Ice Age, and reprinted in like 6th or something.
I think I'm picturing
it's the
it
compass
with a white
eyeball.
border.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a compass, like an open compass with an eyeball, and it's awesome. It's a card that I think of when I think of like when I started playing Magic, and it's like one of those old cards
I know in
of.
blue it's easy enough to change people's land types, but
well, the nice thing is
I know
in a
Invasion
Forest
had
Walk
some
deck,
stuff,
you throw a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth.
Well,
in there,
that's
right. I mean,
that's
obviously, but then there's is it Flush Out or it's a green spell that you can attach to an opponent's land, and it turns it into a forest. I forget what it's called, something like that. So there's all these little effects I have.
And there's a few enchantments that'll do that, but I don't know about limiting yourself to just green. That's got to be fun.
It is fun, and like I said, I look for excuses to play these weird ass obscure cards like Mystic Compass. So I finally have a deck where I can play Mystic Compass.
Again, you've seen the stuff in my Batty Eldal.
Right, exactly.
Wait, what is that?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's one of the 5 things in the game that does the Pestilence effect.
Right, exactly. Pestilence Tribal. I love it.
Do you not run a Wumpus in many of your decks?
A Thokter?
Yeah.
One of the decks, one commander that I do want to build in the future is the Worm Speaker that was from the was it Brothers War or Dominaria United? He was one of the set boosters only. It's the guy who creates worm tokens.
Okay.
And I think he's a worm lord too. He might buff the worms too. But I was like, now I can play Crawl
Was he
Worm.
set booster or was he part of the Jumpstart?
Set booster.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's where I pulled him from.
Gotcha.
But I'm just happy that I could play like Crawl Worm, in a deck.
I miss 5th grade building worm decks.
Right, exactly. What was the other one? It was Crawl Worm, and then there was the other...
There's like Endless Worm and...
but it was... So Crawl Worm was the green one. There was a blue one, though. What was the blue...
Oh, I don't remember.
I think it might have still been a green card, but it was blue art.
Green has so many worms once you get into it.
Right. I can't... Yes, but
I'm picturing art from all these...
Yeah, I'm saying the creature, the worm itself was blue. It was a green card, but it was a blue worm. It was Crawl Worm, and then there was something else. And maybe their power and toughness were inverse on the cards. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm getting way off track here.
Yes.
Fun, obscure cards.
Yes. Build what you can. Do what you want.
Right, exactly. Magic's fun.